What's up, good folks, and welcome back to the show today for another review. Because Zero and I are getting ready to jump into our review, as you can see by the graphics, The Blackening, which is going to be in theaters June 16th. This film made its world premiere back at Toronto International Film Festival (TIFF) in 2022. And yeah, now it has this theatrical release, and we're gonna talk a lot about this film because I'm gonna be honest. I heard good things about it. The title wasn't so catchy to me, but enough folks, and Zero was definitely the exclamation point of saying, "Go see this." You've seen it about a week before me. I've just seen it just a couple of days ago, and I'm just gonna quickly start off by saying this is by all means not only a film you need to see, but you're probably going to have to own it, and we're going to tell you why. But Zero, you just saw it first. Talk me through it. When you got the opportunity to check it out, what was your hesitations, and then ultimately, what was just your thoughts upon getting out the theater?
Well, there was obviously no hesitation. There was not even close to hesitation. I had to weasel my way into this one. I got word of a screening and I said, man, I need to be in that theater.
Yeah.
I saw this film at the AMC Magic Johnson up in Harlem,
Yeah.
which is not usually where I go to my screenings, but it
Yeah.
made the world of a difference. It was very appropriate. This was probably one of the best screening experiences I've had, I want to say, in the past, let's say 3 years. Guys, this is a film that you have to see with people. Don't go into this alone on the couch. It's just not going to hit the same.
Yeah.
And also maybe prepare the gut, because there will definitely be some laughing. When I first stepped into the theater, I was expecting something like a protege to Scary Movie, which in a nutshell is what we got. But a little bit more with the times, if you will.
Yeah. That's my hesitation. That's exactly my hesitation, because everything on paper says this should be a good film, but we have been bamboozled with the same sort of setup with a fantastic cast up and down, the director who's notable, and then you're like, oh, it's going to be a black horror comedy film, huh? Okay, yeah, this is definitely going to, like, there's campy, and then there's these other set of films that just really try too much, and I was just worried. But again, we're here to do the review, and you all have plenty of time to check this film out when this review is available to you all, to make your own sort of determination if you're going to go see it. But I'm here to say, like, absolutely, just whatever bit of hesitation you may have, totally go see it, because it is that good. And I did love the community aspect and seeing this in the theater with folks. There was a ton of laughs. Everybody was having a good time. But the only reason I said that you definitely want to own this film is because, Zero, I don't want to steal your thunder here, but you said it. The laughs on top of laughs on top of laughs, to the point that you will miss a joke, and I instantly got FOMO. Like, I was just like, dang, I feel like I just missed a really good joke. So I feel like at home I can, like, slow it down, re-listen, rewatch, and, like, pick up on all those little jokes, because not only was there definitely punchlines, but there was, like, little tidbits, there was mannerisms. I mean, it's culture heavy, and, like, from top to bottom, there's something that everybody's going to find a means in laughing about. And I enjoyed it, man. I really enjoyed it.
I agree. I think when I first heard, like, the echoes of this is going to be like a Scary Movie-esque, and, like, all right, I'll be real. Scary Movie 1 and 2, when the Wayans brothers had authority over the franchise, they were great. Some were a hit, some were a miss, but that's just kind of what you got with the series. And that was one of my worries for this film. But when I say rapid fire, like, I'm not playing. I am not playing. Rapid fire jokes, rapid fire culture. You're right, Nigeria, with the mannerisms and everything. If it's not an outright joke, then it's a look that somebody gets. You're laughing at it, and you may not laugh too long. You might laugh too long, but you might miss the next joke. So owning this one on Blu-ray is probably a good idea, because in that theater was so damn loud, man. That theater was so damn loud. I know that there's things that I miss, so I'm looking forward to watching this one a second time. But it is what it is. It was
Yeah.
hilarious. The theater was roaring. I really encourage that you, if you're able to, viewer, get out to the theater to see this one. It will make a huge difference.
Hell of a difference. Hell of a difference. We're obviously going to talk about what the film is about. Just to give a little bit more background, this is from the director Tim Story. Tim has a very long catalog of classics, shall I say, within the culture. I mean, you're starting off with Barbershop. That's instantly that was an instant classic. He did the Fantastic Four movies that weren't good. Well, I don't know, whatever. But nonetheless, he had Ride Along, which was good. Ride Along 2 was good. He came back with the 2019 version of Shaft. I think his body of work speaks for itself. But I gotta say, outside of Barbershop, this may be his best film. This really, truly may be his best film that he directed. You know, he wore multiple hats in some of the other previous films, but you know, with this, and this was written by Tracy Oliver and Dewayne Perkins. I think the three of them really put something together. But this is also because you can do this right now before you even see the film. This is also based on the short by a comedy group called Three Pete, which that's available now. You go Google it. It's right on YouTube. I looked it up because what I noticed about it is that I saw within the credits that I was like, hey, who's Three Pete? Because everybody named from Three Pete is the name of the characters from the film. So I was kind of like, oh, okay. So I was like, hold on, let me go look that up. I wasn't sure it was Three Pete. Like, it could be anything, but I wasn't sure. But I looked it up, and they did have a short. But then, yes, you start looking at the cast here, and I mean, it's long. It's a lot of good folks involved there. Grace Byers, Melvin Gregg, Dewayne Perkins is also starring in it. Sinqua Walls, who just came off of White Men Can't Jump. Yvonne Orji, who you know from Insecure. I mean, it just goes on. And I think that with this very, very lengthy cast of experience, there's a lot of comedians in here, and I think they all had a time to shine too, because I mean, like, you know, when you throw in but so meaningful. I mean, Jay Farrell's in it. I think Jay Farrell's is easily a scene stealer, but you put Jay Farrell next to Yvonne Orji, you're just like, oh, that's a void right there. Like, they're gonna go at it, and they
It's like this.
And I loved it. And I just think that, like, you know, this cast of talent who easily all could just lead any given film at any given day, seeing them all mixed together was just truly a fantastic time. But talking about what the story is, and then I'm gonna give you opportunity to talk about your thoughts about the plot. And then I think we should peep into spoilers just a little bit here.
Okay.
You have a group of friends who hadn't kicked it in a while, and you know, these are very simple plots. Like, hey, it's time for us to link up. At first, you don't know exactly why everybody's linking up, which isn't a big plot twist, but it just makes it even more funnier when we tell you why. You might have already picked up on it. But all the friends, they're high school friends, then they haven't kicked it in a while, and they say, hey, we got an Airbnb essentially. Let's go kick it. Let's all catch up, and so on. I think it's 7 of them, 7-ish, 8 of them. And so they're like, hey, we're gonna turn up, we're gonna unwind, we're gonna all catch up for all the missed time and whatnot. So simple plot. Airbnb, old friends kicking it. They get up to the Airbnb. It is absolutely in celebration of not only them catching up, but Juneteenth. So you have this Juneteenth background and backdrop to everything that's happening here. By the way, this film is releasing Juneteenth weekend. So great marketing strategy here. And it truly works. It is not what's the word here? It is not them pandering at all. This is absolutely a fantastic marketing scheme. And I think once more people take note that this is sort of like a Juneteenth celebration comedy horror, I think a lot of people are going to just like, yeah, I got to see it, no doubt. But with that, they get up to the Airbnb, because I don't know why people rent Airbnbs, because I'm about done with Airbnbs after a few horror movies I've seen.
Yeah, I was about to say it's a whole subgenre now, so I'm out.
It absolutely is, and these horror directors absolutely know it is, and they're going after it like full swinging. Like, yeah, we're going to make sure you all know these are not good decisions to make. But they get up there just to find out that there's not only a creepy game in the game room called the Blackening, but it seems like somebody is on the property keeping a close eye on them. And this is a slasher film. There is a killer on the premise, and they also have to play this black version of Jumanji, shall I say? But Jumanji in trivia, and like not trivia. I'm saying trivia. Black Card Revolt Jumanji, because the styling of the game. The reason why I say it's Jumanji because Jumanji obviously brought you into the game, but this is like not bringing you to the game, but it's like bringing you into like your reality of being black. Like it's a black card check game in terms of like how black you are. Which is just completely hilarious. And everybody who had Black Card Revolt, it uses sort of like the same style in the questions. And if you don't answer the questions, then there will be consequences. And then there is definitely a very racial figure on the board that just makes all of it creepy. Not to mention that the game is also connected to this sort of John Kramer styling of you got to play my game type of thing. So like they use a bunch of different like tropes within horror, but it just really works. It really works. But for you, in case I missed anything here, or you can just also just re-explain anything I may have got incorrect here. Just overall, your thoughts about the plot of the film. Obviously, talk about the different tropes that it cover within horror. You are the subgenre queen. Where exactly would you put this at? I know we said the Airbnb, but are you confirmed with that one? But yeah, talk to me.
So this film is 100% a slasher comedy. It does toy with the cliches, but one thing that Black folks can never get enough of in the theater is sitting there and saying, "Oh, don't go down there. Don't do that. Don't do this. I wouldn't do that. She wouldn't do this." And this movie knows that you're thinking that. So the premise is, classic, the classic, oh, Airbnb horror, or a cabin in the woods, the list goes on. Actually, this film is very cabin in the woods with the level of quirky that it is. That would make for a cute double feature. But it plays with the cliches in the beginning. And a great thing about this is that all of the characters are aware. They're so aware. They're so ridiculously aware. They're making jokes about each other the whole time. Why would we rent out an Airbnb in the middle of, nowhere, essentially, where we are the only sources of melanin for like the next 75-mile radius? Everyone is aware. But the way that they fall into these situations really isn't up to our human nature, I guess. It's just is what it is, which I do think is very clever, and voids us of the opportunity to say, don't do that at most times, which is very clever. As far as the plot goes, I mean, obviously we're not here for the plot. We're here for the cast. We're here for the laughs. We're here for the vibes, a little bit of the Juneteenth celebration as the marketing has instilled in us. I say about 2/3 of the way through, we get a little bit drawn out, but that's barely the point, so that's not even criticism that I really have to make. As far as like the slasher component goes, if you were to take all the comedy out of this movie, we'd still have a little bit of a decent slasher, I will say. The gore is good but pretty mild, so if you're looking for more of a comedy and less something scary, then this is definitely a nice sweet spot. Shout out to the woman to my left in the theater. She shook up her popcorn a couple times, but it was immediately remedied with good laughs. So, the ups and downs of this film also work really well, because you're laughing the whole time, but there are a couple sweet spots for jump scares that are not too bad at all. And you know how I feel about jump scares, Najir. And I'm not talking about the cheap, loud noise to make you jump in your seat. Like actually good, thoughtful jump scares. That do work for, keeping this movie a slasher as well as a comedy. So the ups and downs were just perfect. My one little qualm about getting a little bit too deep into the lore, I would say at the 3/4 mark, if I were to make a suggestion, maybe just go lean back a little bit more on the comedy. But honestly, everyone is going to be laughing so hard they're probably not even going to notice. I'm just like a little bit of a freak that way. But also a good little entry to Airbnb horror, because that's coming up too. It really is. I think we had maybe like 10 to 12 of them in the past 3 years. So just, instill a little bit more fear in us, because there's no cabins. There's no Airbnbs. There's no rural white areas, just to add to the list.
Yeah.
But solid. I think it's solid.
Yeah. Yeah, there's really a lot to unfold with this movie, man, because I will say, as you alluded to, like when they come to all the black tropes and stereotypes within horror films or just conversations within the community, they hit them all. And I
Mhm.
think again, Dewayne Perkins, who stars as Dewayne, who also wrote the short, who also co-wrote this, who was easily my favorite character in this.
Yeah.
I think there was a level of like pushing on the gas in terms of making sure we got to hit all these jokes, but also for like all the delivery was very natural. And I think there was this moments where um you may say predictable, like there's absolutely parts of the plot that's predictable. The twist in the plot is predictable, I would say, but there's also very moments of like it almost feels telegraphed in terms of certain things you're going to know, and that's not problematic because I think it's so rich within the culture. You're like, oh, I know where they're going at with this. I know we're just setting up with that one.
Yeah.
I know how to finish that one. And there's also just some really funny random things that you just don't really think about. But they definitely put on display here. And I will say that there's an absolute really funny element to this film, and it is
Mhm.
black telepathy. Never
Oh my God.
I have never ever seen this in the light of how this film displayed black telepathy.
Mhm.
I don't even really want to give it away, but it's literally one of the funniest things I've ever seen in a film. And like, I think Blackish and Kenya Barris does a good job in making sure we hit all these different things within the community, but I have never seen black telepathy. I know what it is. As soon as it was happening, everybody knew what it was. And everybody was
Mhm.
like, yeah, and everybody was taking part of it. And everybody, it like the dialogue with it was amazing. But just to see it used in the way it was the funniest element of this film, and I have certainly got to give them credit for not only
Absolutely.
just displaying the culture but being unique with it too, like saying like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, we gonna hit this one. They ain't been touched with this one yet, but we knew what it was. Like
Word.
hilarious conversations up and down. The script was fantastic. The characters are easily enjoyable. And I think that, you know, again, with such a diverse group of comedians and actors, that everybody had a moment to shine. And
Several.
yeah,
Several moments.
yeah, yeah. And I enjoyed it, man. Solid film.
Mhm.
Um,
Absolutely.
Trying to think what else that needs to. Oh! I gotta mention too. And while this is a horror film, and yes, it's a comedy, they also did some things that I really appreciate as a nod to some of the classic horror films. They had a very unique rendition of the classic Jason theme and
Mm.
score. And I was like,
Yes.
I know that. And I love how they put their little remix on it. And it was hella dope. I definitely think the score of this film was really cool. The soundtrack, obviously, which is what you would expect. But I really did
Mhm.
love how they took a classic melody as the Jason theme and add their little unique rendition to it. And it was dope. I was digging that. I was definitely digging that.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
what else? Anything else to cover with the film? I mean, we can obviously give a big disclaimer right now and say anything beyond this point may be spoilers. So definitely check the film out. And I guarantee you that even if we spoil a lot of things, I don't think we won't spoil the big twist. But like if we spoil either a joke or something, I'm telling you that Zero's probably going to say a joke that I'm going to say I probably didn't hear it because they was that rapid
So
fire
many.
just that rapid fire, like boom, boom, boom. Because I mean,
Uh-huh.
again, these are comedians, and you can allow them to improv. And like, you're not going to give Jay Farrell a script and say, "Please read all of this."
Right.
You know
Mhm.
he's going to be like, "Oh, I'm not a bounce off of Yvonne." Like, yeah, let us do our thing. This is what our characters need to do, and they're going to go at it. So you're going to have her delivering a joke, and he's going to respond back, and then that may be the end of the scene. No, Yvonne may come back and be like, I got a little extra something to that, and the two of them
Mhm.
were just fantastic on screen again. Just but yeah. Anything you want to
Absolutely.
add?
I think I mean, I just want to go back on the cast or the characters rather,
Mhm.
not the cast, but the characters that they created for this film are I think the perfect ensemble of um slasher tropes, or like slasher survivor tropes,
Mm-hmm.
right? But keeping them black, if you know what I mean. So,
Mm-hmm.
in a typical slasher movie, you got to have the know-it-all. You got to have the one who might be a little slow to think of things. You
Mm-hmm.
have to have the one who's a little bit hyper aggressive. We've seen all of these before in Scream and Cabin in the Woods and Cabin Fever and so on and so forth. You have very specific characters that have very strong attributes that will then either help or hinder them in their ability to survive. And keeping those tropes like pretty much the standard as far as any slasher goes, but having they each have their own very stereotypical black qualities about them. And I don't mean the bad things. I mean the good things.
Yeah.
And maybe the a little bit unspoken unspoken agreements. Like I really do love the ex-gangsta who married a white woman.
I forgot about
um
this.
but deep down, like, he's all, I'm saved, I don't
Yeah.
carry, I don't got it on me, I'm not packing right now. But is he really packing when when the door is about to be busted down by a very
Yeah.
mysterious figure in
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
blackface mask?
Yeah.
Maybe he is still gangsta. Maybe you cannot take the hood out the homie. Maybe that's really what it is. But
Yeah.
I mean, that would be at the alternative if we were watching like Hills Have Eyes or something. He would be like the jock character,
Mm-hmm.
who tries to bum rush. Um, but putting a black spin on all of those stereotypical slasher characters was very unique. And something that I guess my only little I did think of another bit of criticism, but the name The Blackening kind of had my eyes rolling at first.
Yeah.
The Blackening seems more in line with like a scary movie, quote unquote, right?
Exactly.
Like
Mm-hmm.
and so I was thinking this is going to be, up the levels on the cheesy, on the corny,
Yeah.
on the little bit silly and dumb, and much lower levels on creating a cohesive movie besides the comedy parts.
Yeah.
Personally, I thought that they should have made the tagline, the title, "We Can't All Die First." That would have been
Mm.
a banging title, and I think would be more fitting because um, although everyone talks about, or the buzz right now is that, The Blackening is the next version of Scary Movie.
Mm-hmm.
Scary Movie is all like parody. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And it's kind of Uncanny Valley-ish. Like it's a very more zany version of real life, whereas The Blackening is kind of just real life, and just happens to be a funny situation with very funny characters. It's not parody. It's not imitation of anything that already exists. It doesn't have that Uncanny Valley feel. This does take place in real life.
Yeah.
So I would like people to know that. Because that's definitely something that I was worried about, and now I know that Najir was also worried about.
Yeah.
You're not going to get and I do know that it is can be kind of a concern, especially because a lot, or not a lot, I think maybe two or three of these comedians have come from social media,
Yeah.
and it's become, not to go, very small rant, it's become kind of a phenomenon, the like reemergence of the Sambo figure, um from Jim Crow era, and Jemima, like that kind of
Yeah.
whole fictional
Yeah.
character that's overly goofy. um Non-black people can give the excuse that, oh, we love these characters and they're hilarious, but we need to differentiate whether we're laughing at their talents or we're laughing at them, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense. And now with the boom of social media, I will say there's a lot of black creators on the internet that have attention of white folks, not because of their craft, but because they make themselves jokey and silly and stupid
Yeah.
enough to be laughed at. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's very low levels of that in Scary Movie. And I will say it's not just for black people, it's all the characters are just like Cindy, like is a clown, and like everybody in that movie is a clown,
Yeah.
per se. And that's not what we have here. And if anything, we're laughing at that, clownery, or laughing at somebody versus laughing with their craft, you know what I mean, with the Blackening game, because we have that figure of, you know, the nasty like blackface doll that you would find on like a can of fish in like Jim Crow era. You know, it's very meta that way, and I would like to think that that was intentional, because of all of these new, I would even call them like pseudo comedians. Like the first one that comes to my mind is the shark bait guy. I think it is important to have these figures so we can know who was laughing at us and who was laughing with us. But this movie, The Blackening, is definitely a prime example of laughing with us, because I don't think you have to be black to enjoy this film.
Not at all.
And you're not laughing at anyone. It's a situational laughing. It's a comedic excellence, togetherness, and comedy, not laughing at somebody's, you know, the way that somebody presents themselves or the way that they walk or the way that they talk. That's a little bit Scary Movie, and that's a little bit in the past. And if any of you watchers have seen Scary Movie in the year of our Lord Akila Cooper 2023, they don't hold up very well. So The Blackening has come right on time.
I hate to even have to follow that. I wish I had let you went last. The only thing I really want to say, because I wholeheartedly agree, and also want to say that Grace Byers' character is definitely a prime example of a lot of what you were saying in terms of how this is enjoyable for all characters. Because they have these, and I'm not gonna say difficult conversations, but they have these conversations that we have all the time. They just put them on screen, and I think they handle them tastefully, and with a like a guiding solution in terms of moving forward with not only just black comedy films with comedians, but just actors in general that are black, that are doing comedy films or horror films and so on. I think they tackle a lot of little tidbits within it, and I think it is based all around the game, which has a lot of jokes, but at the end of the day, there's also some very serious things that are being said, and I think anybody can pick up on it, despite your race. But last thing I will say, I definitely at one point said this, and I know I mentioned Yvonne, and she comes from Insecure, but I absolutely say this feels like a slasher episode of Insecure. That type of banter is on full display within this. And I also will say one other little joking thing. You mentioned Melvin Gregg character King, ex-gangster. I feel like a lot of these characters are like almost like origin stories of their characters from their big shows that they come from. So like considering, you know, Melvin Gregg played Man Boy in Snowfall, you kind of see glimpses of like that a little bit, but you see like he's come a long way. Then even Sinqua Walls, where you the character Nandi, you're like, oh, this is like the prequel to White Man Can't Jump. You know, he's training people in the gym and still it's like, oh, this is before he started ball or right after he started balling. But like I just love how the film makes your mind explore those type of stories, and you just have a lot of fun with it. You know, there's a lot of reasons to enjoy this, and I think everybody, without any doubt, without any fear, without any hesitation, should go check this film out on Juneteenth weekend, by the way. But folks, with that being said, get in the comments if you've already seen it, whether you've seen it at TIFF, whether you got to see an early screening, or whether you have plans on seeing it. The trailer is hilarious, and it does live up to the hype. And once you check it out, folks, get in the comments, let us know your thoughts about it. And as always, stay tuned for more reviews and content very soon.